My dad left everything to my stepmother. 6 months later, she knocked on my door with his real will. The day my father's will was read, I sat quietly at the end of the conference table while my stepmother, Linda, held his handkerchief and cried. Dad had passed away after a short battle with pancreatic cancer, and I was still trying to process the fact that he was gone. Then the attorney cleared his throat and announced that my father had left everything, the house, his retirement accounts, his classic Mustang, and nearly all of his savings, to Linda. I received $1. The attorney looked uncomfortable as he slid the paperwork toward me, but I didn't argue. I simply stood up, hugged Linda, told her I hoped she'd be happy, and walked out. The rumors started almost immediately. My cousins claimed Dad must have discovered something terrible about me before he died. An uncle asked whether I'd borrowed money and never paid it back. Even a family friend hinted that parents don't cut children out of their wills without a reason. None of them knew the truth. My father and I had been incredibly close. I visited him every weekend during chemotherapy, drove him to appointments when Linda couldn't, and spent countless nights sleeping in a chair beside his hospital bed. He never once suggested he planned to leave me out of his estate. That's why I wasn't angry. I was confused. Life slowly moved on. I kept teaching 3rd grade, paid my bills, and stopped answering questions about the inheritance. Then, almost 6 months later, someone knocked on my front door just after sunset. When I opened it, Linda was standing there holding a small fireproof lockbox. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. Before I could ask why she was there, she quietly said, "Your father never meant for this to happen." She walked inside, placed the box on my kitchen table, and burst into tears. Once she finally calmed down, she explained everything. About a month after Dad's funeral, she'd hired a contractor to renovate the garage. While clearing out an old workbench, they found a hidden compartment Dad had built years earlier. Inside was the lockbox, along with several family photo albums and a sealed envelope addressed to both of us. Linda admitted she'd been too scared to open it at first because she thought it might contain personal letters. When she finally did, she found something neither of us expected. There was another will. It wasn't handwritten or unfinished. It had been signed, witnessed, and notarized nearly 2 years after the version read by the attorney. Along with it was a letter from Dad explaining he'd changed his estate after selling part of his business. He wrote that he wanted Linda to have enough money to live comfortably, but he also wanted me to inherit the family home because I'd grown up there and had spent years helping him maintain it. At the bottom of the letter, Dad mentioned he'd personally given the updated will to his attorney. Somehow, it had never made it into his official file. Linda immediately contacted the law firm. After an internal investigation, they discovered the attorney who handled Dad's estate had retired unexpectedly because of serious health problems. During the transition to a new legal team, several client files had been misfiled, including Dad's updated estate documents. The original will had been used simply because nobody realized a newer one existed. The firm admitted the mistake in writing and agreed to cover every legal expense required to correct it. The probate hearing wasn't dramatic. Nobody accused anyone of fraud, and nobody shouted across the courtroom. The judge carefully reviewed the evidence, confirmed the newer will was valid, and approved the correction. What surprised everyone most was Linda's attitude. She never argued. She never tried to keep anything that wasn't meant for her. In fact, she was the one who insisted the court fix the mistake as quickly as possible. Later, she admitted she'd spent months feeling guilty, convinced Dad would never have intentionally left me with nothing. A few weeks after everything was finalized, Linda invited me over for dinner. As we cleaned the dishes, she smiled and said, "You know, your father would have been furious if we spent the rest of our lives fighting over his mistakes." I laughed and corrected her. They weren't his mistakes. She nodded. "You're right. But he raised both of us well enough to fix someone else's." Today, I still live in the house where my dad taught me how to ride a bike in the driveway and build birdhouses in the garage. Linda visits every Sunday for coffee, and we still celebrate Dad's birthday together every year. People are always surprised when I tell them we're close. The truth is, family isn't tested when everything goes according to plan. It's tested when someone has every reason to choose themselves and chooses what's right instead. Would you have trusted your stepmother if she showed up with a second will? Yes or no?